In your opinion, in which situation is a straightforward LTV-based bidding recommended, where indicators of higher LTV determine a higher bid being placed? And in what other situations is a portfolio-based bidding recommended, where bids are a function of the price needed to reach the most promising sources?
I mean, ideally, you would have historical data from your other games that you can sort of use as sort of a proxy, especially if they're in the same genre or even a similar genre to give you a range to sort of aim for. But oftentimes we don't really sort of have that sort of capability. Of course, you can sort of make some rough estimates using Sensor Tower App Annie and checking out different competitors and what kind of revenue they're sort of seeing to get like a rough kind of range. But I think a lot of effort and a lot of value can come from doing that monetization testing in the soft launch, building up that data, and then using that to sort of help forecast out to a future point in time and see when, if it can ever cross that break-even points, depending upon the marketing activities that you're doing, and the constant sort of test this to see that with each iteration of the game, with each updates, that these metrics can sort of be improved upon, or maybe it needs to sort of be looked into and see if those were valuable kind of forecast targets or not. And also important to make sure, seems pretty obvious, but separate organic and paid UA, as they can be wildly different. Separate by network or even by geo if you can. There's, of course, a great deal of work, but that's the most proper way of sort of being able to get a very accurate read of what kind of targets it should have. But of course, I understand for reasonableness and realism and the time available in a day, then you may have to use something a bit more generic. But if you can at least get it down to between organic and paid UA is the most sort of ideal. And you may be limited past a certain points in time, especially in soft launch, but at the very least, you can generally rely on optimizing against your kind of earliest cohorts. And then if you sort of get that right, then you set a really good base foundation. So if you can open up the funnel as much as you can from the top, you're inevitably going to have more people eventually reach to the later stages of the game. Now, if it kind of drops off at a certain point, they don't mature to what you originally forecast, well, that's something else to sort of work on. But I believe that's a problem that's better to have compared to having a really small funnel near the top. Because I think that's a sign of bigger kind of issues in play. But in any case, I think the most important thing is to realize it's a living document. It's to sort of take it in steps. Unless you have a game that's been out for 10 years and you can reliably, use the LTV from there to base your strategies on, it's going to be something that's constantly edited, constantly updated. And, with iOS 14 coming around the corner, it's going to be a lot harder, at least on iOS, to sort of be able to predict this. But I think there's still things that one can sort of do to make something that's can be used almost like a North Star, at least from a marketing UA kind of perspective.